Hello, welcome to another episode of Jim's Love My Garden. Okay then, so beetroot. So this year we're going to make, put in a variety of beetroot seeds. Now these are some, so this one's from King Seeds. These are some that I got from my allotment last year. They didn't grow particularly well, to be honest with you, but I'm going to grow them again. It was a bad year last year for beetroot. So I've got these ones here, which is beetroot Bolt Hardy. Then we've got some beetroot Detroit 2, a couple of packets of those. So those are the ones I'm going to put in. So basically I'm going to put a tray of each of these in. I've obviously got 2 packets of those. So the easiest way to do beetroot, you can plant these directly outside, but what you can get are beetles attacking the leaves when they're young plants. If you grow them in modules like this, you can bring them on that much quicker, and then when you put them out, the leaves are a bit harder, and the beetles basically don't attack the plant, so you can actually get round, you know, that problem just by growing them in here. Get yourself ahead a little bit, and then you know, it also gets you around the problem of the beetles, so you don't have to spray the plants and all the rest of it. So, and if that can be avoided, obviously that's the best thing to do. So what I'm going to do, I've got these modules. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 5, 8 to 40. So there's 40 modules in each of these, and all you need to do is fill the modules with compost, exactly like we've done with other things. And you want the compost to be reasonably firm, because what you don't want is the seeds to be too deep. Now, beetroot seed is reasonably big. It's like obviously like little pieces of cork. I've shown you before. So what you want to do, if I just quickly do that. So all I'm doing is just sticking my finger in the cells like that to push the compost in, because you want the compost to be in there reasonably firmly, and then go back over with some more compost like that. Right. Obviously if you do it yourself you'll have more time to do this, because I'm showing it. Right, so that's enough compost now. So what you want to do in these cells is with your fingers, make an indentation in the centre of each of the cells like that. And what you want is the seed will obviously sit within that indentation. So you want the seed to be in the centre of the compost. The reason being is if it's in the centre of the compost, that's going to be where the moisture is, and you know it'll have the best chance of getting its roots, you know, sort of developed and all the rest of it. Okay, so we'll start with the Detroit 2 seeds. These are from Wilco's. These are only 50p a packet. You can't go wrong really. So I'll just show you the seed. The seed looks like that. It's like little pieces of cork, and all you want to do is you want to put 1 or 2 seeds in each of the cells. Now you don't need to sort of prick these out like you do with other plants. The thing with beetroot is you can let them fight it out, and the strongest plant will win, or you'll end up with 2 or whatever, so you don't need to be overly fussy with these. Right, so you want to keep the seeds as close to the surface really as you can. You don't want to bury them too far, and even though these are reasonably large seeds, you want to, you could pretty much leave them on the top, to be honest with you, but I always like to cover the seeds, because if you cover the seeds, then you can guarantee that the seed will always be moist, whereas if it's on the top it's got a high risk of drying out, and that's obviously you don't want that. So I'll just put a couple of seeds in each one. I shan't do the other one, I just wanted to show you this one really. So I'm going to do exactly the same with the other variety in there. Right, so we've got a couple of seeds couple of seeds in each one like that. So now all you need to do, put the spare seeds away. And these seeds will be good for, you know, a couple of years really. So you know you can keep them, keep them for next year. So as soon as you've done that, what I suggest you do is just go over with your finger and just press them into the compost so you know that they're in contact with the compost, like that. And then just with a small amount of compost like that, you just want to go over, just make sure that they're covered like that. And then, you know, you don't need much, you only need want a bit. And then just push them down again. Right, so all I need to do now is give those a bit of water, give them a good soaking, and then leave them in the warm greenhouse. You want the temperature to be around between 15 and 20 most certainly, and you will get that this time of year. As soon as the plants get to about sort of 3 or 4 inches high, you don't want them any bigger than that because they'll get exhausted in these small modules. As soon as they get to sort of 2, 3, 4 inches high, you know, take them out, put them into the ground. As soon as your ground's warm, put them into the ground, and then off they'll go. So I'm going to do exactly the same in this one now with these bolt hardy type from King Seeds. But that's basically what we need to be doing for beetroot at this time of year. Okay, so we've just about reached that time where we can grow the gourds. Now if you look at gourds, are kind of all, you know, there's a whole manner of plants in the gourd family. Everything from, I don't know, cucumbers to pumpkins, butternut squashes, courgettes. These are the 3 main, most typical ones that we grow. I have grown sort of butternut, birdhouse gourds and ivy gourds and stuff in the past, but this year I'm not going to bother with those. I'm just going to grow the normal sort of staple gourds, obviously apart from these 3, which are courgettes, pumpkins and butternut squashes. I'm also obviously going to be growing the standard cucumbers and stuff like that. So the best way to plant these in a pot, you know, the standard pots that I use, and what you want to do is just fill those with compost. Make sure the compost is nice and warm. Now with pumpkins, you know, any sort of squashes and stuff like that, even though it says on the plant packets it says March to May, to germinate these you most certainly need heat. You need nice warm conditions, and now we've got that. Now the heat is really turned up over the past week, and I'm reasonably confident we're going to have this for a few weeks, or at least it's not going to go too cold. I know now is the right time to plant them. Otherwise, if you don't have the heat, the seeds can potentially rot in the ground. So, right. So all I'm doing is filling these pots with compost, and what you're aiming to get is 1 seed in the middle, and you want it to be around 1 inch or so deep. Right. So now I've got the compost in there. So what I'll do is I'll start with the courgettes. Now these are some that I had left over from last year. Now this packet here actually says 2017, but to be honest with you, oh no, sorry, 2020. I'm all right. If they were 2017, which was last year, I would still probably give that a go, to be honest with you. Now this is a variety called Goldener. As you can see, this one's Gold Rush F1, but pretty much they're the same variety. Now the seeds are reasonably small. There's enough seeds in there, to be honest with you. So those are the seeds there, and what you want to do is plant them on the side. So you want to hold the seed like that and push it into the middle, around 1 inch or so deep. Again, like with the sunflower seeds, feel the seed. If the seed feels like it's got nothing inside it, then the likelihood is it hasn't. So I've put 6. I'm probably going to put another 2 of those in, but I'll do those afterwards. And all you need to do is just put a little bit of compost over the top like that. Give them a really good water, and they should be popping up in the next couple of weeks. So that's the courgette, so I'll just put them on one side. Now with butternut squashes and pumpkins, it's exactly the same scenario. But what I would suggest you do with pumpkins is plant them slightly deeper. The reason being is when the leaves come out, I have had this in the past, when the leaves come out of the seed pod, if you can imagine, the first two leaves of the plant, which are like the seed leaves, they're already formed inside the seed. And what you can find is with the larger seed, what they can do is they can force the seed out of the compost. And what I found with pumpkin seeds, particularly the larger ones, is that it can actually push the seed out of the ground, and then it doesn't grow very well. And you have to basically repot it or sort of plant it deeper. So let me just put the rest of the compost in and I'll show you what I mean. Right, pumpkin seeds. I always grow this variety, which is Atlantic Giant. These always grow to a good size. And the butternut squashes I always grow with this butterfly F1. I always find that grows really well. But that's by Thompson & Morgan. I think Thompson & Morgan are the only company that do the Atlantic Giant. But the butterfly F1 is made by a number of different companies. This is by Country Value. But I think Thompson & Morgan are the only seed company that actually do this particular variety. As I've explained in the past, don't save your seed from the gourd from last year, pumpkins or squash, because the likelihood is they've cross-pollinated with a different type of gourd, and the likelihood is that you're going to get some hybrid pumpkin crossed with a courgette, or you're going to get a pumpkin or a courgette or whatever. But as you can see, these seeds are, let's get 6 good seeds out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm probably going to put 8 of these in as well, to be honest with you. But if you can imagine, they're the seeds. Now, in the seed there, if you can imagine, if I just put these down a second, inside that seed there, what you've got is you've got the first 2 leaves already in there, all folded up, and then running underneath them is the root. So running underneath this part here is the root. So basically, it's that shape because you've got 2 leaves that are next to each other, and then the root is kind of curled underneath the 2 leaves. And what happens is when the seed gets wet, this sort of ridge on the outside there breaks down and opens up. What happens is that allows the leaves to open like that and grow up, and then the root obviously goes down and then pushes the leaves up. That's basically what happens. Now, if you plant this too close to the top of the compost, what can happen is as the root comes out and the leaves try to open, it actually pushes the whole thing out of the compost, if you like. So what you need to do is push that down. I'd say a good 1.5 to 2 inches into the compost, like that. You don't want the compost, on all of these, you don't want the compost to be too tight. You want it to be reasonably tight, but not too firm. You want it to be reasonably loose. You want it to be in contact with the seed, but you don't want it to be crushing the seed, if that makes any sense. So normally what I do is I get a pot and sort of pushing down on doing the brassicas and stuff. You just want to gently, very gently, just do that. You want the compost to stay reasonably loose. Put those in a nice warm position. Again, you're going to need heat for these to germinate. But as I say, put the seeds a little bit deeper. If with the courgette seeds, you can put them about 1 inch or so down, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch down. With pumpkin seeds, I suggest you put them 1.5 inches down into the ground, so that when the leaves open and come up, it doesn't push the whole plant out. And what you can end up with is the part of the root being exposed at the top. I have seen that in the past, because these things, when they grow really quickly. So that's pumpkins, and squashes basically are exactly the same as the, I'll just quickly show you just in case you've not done these before. So those are the pumpkins. Now with the butternut squashes, it's exactly the same kind of thing. Now with butternut squashes, I would suggest you grow at least 8 to 10 plants to get a reasonable crop, because with butternut squashes you can store them over the winter. So you'll probably get 2 to 3 butternut squashes off each plant on average. You can get up to 5 or 6, but I would say on average you're going to get 2 to 3 butternut squashes off each plant. So if you do 8 plants, that's obviously going to give you 8, 16, 24 butternut squashes, and that's about right. Courgettes grow like billio, and each of those plants is going to give you 20-30 courgettes. Nobody can eat that many courgettes, to be honest with you. You get fed up of them. So I would suggest with courgettes you don't grow any more than, I'd say, 2 plants. But what you need to do when you're putting the seed in, you want to put in a couple more plants than you, sort of 2 or 3 plants more than you're intending to grow. And then if they all come, that's great. You've got some plants to give away to your friends or relatives or whatever. If they don't, if some of them don't grow, then at least you're guaranteed to get the plants that you need. Now these are going to go out into the garden as soon as possible, really. So I'd say sort of middle of May, beginning of June. These are going to go out, because as soon as you get them out there, these are going to grow really hard, really fast, and then they're going to give you the maximum amount of crop. So the sooner you get these out, the better, because as soon as the bad weather starts and the light starts to reduce, then these plants will most certainly shut down and they won't produce any more fruit. Right, so as you can see, let's get 6. I don't think you get many for your money out of here. Right, as you can see, I've actually got 7 there, but those are the butternut squash seeds, and they're small like the courgette seeds. Again, on the side, put them in about 3/4 of an inch to an inch into the soil. You don't have any deeper than that. But in exactly the same way as the pumpkin, in there you've got 2 leaves and a root, and then the root's going to go down, and then the leaves are going to go up. That's exactly why you plant it on its side, so that the root can go down and the 2 leaves are that way, so they can come up. So that's the easiest way for them to grow. But as I say, put them in about 3/4 of an inch to an inch, which is around 2 centimetres. Just top up with a little bit of compost on there. Don't be tempted to squash them in. You want the compost to be reasonably loose. As you water them, it'll settle in anyway. And then just another pot, very gently, just tidy up the top like that. Give them a really good soak, and the next bit of advice is common across all of the gourds. What you want to do is plant these in a piece of ground which is very well fertilised. All gourds are very fast growing, greedy plants. Greedy for water, greedy for nutrients out of the soil, because they grow so quickly. So what you want to do is, wherever you decide to plant your pumpkins or your courgettes or your squashes or any gourd really, you want to dig as much goodness into the ground as you can. Manure, grass cuttings, wood chip if it's rotted down, any compost, anything like that you can get the nutrients into the ground. They're going to grow so much better. They need a reasonably well drained soil, but they also like to have moisture there. So things like the grass and the carbon matter, that's going to allow you to keep the moisture around the roots. In hot weather, you do need to water them. If the ground starts to dry up, you do need to keep them going with water. You need to water them every night. But if the weather's normal, they will survive as is. What I suggest you do, as soon as the plant comes out and it's a reasonable height, what I do suggest is you mulch it with more compost or manure or whatever to keep the moisture in the ground. So as soon as the plant comes up and you've got the leaves start to be the size of the whole plant is about the size of a dinner plate, what I suggest you do is mulch it with grass cuttings or anything that'll suppress the weeds, but most importantly will keep the moisture in the ground, and then that's going to reduce your need to keep them watered. The moisture will stay there, and then they'll grow all the stronger. The last point I will say on gourds is courgette plants are quite well contained. They will stay within, wherever you plant them, they will stay within sort of 2 foot either side of that. So if you can imagine, you need a 4 foot square area, or a kind of metre square really area, for each of your courgette plants. Pumpkins and butternut squashes will go everywhere. They send out runners, and it's on those runners that the pumpkins or the butternut squashes will grow. Those runners can be anything up to, I don't know, 5-6 metres long. So wherever you grow them, make sure that there's room for the plant to grow out, wherever it wants to go. What you can do is grow your pumpkins near your potatoes, for example, and then let the plant grow into your potato plot. That's one thing you can do, because we haven't all got lots of room to let the, a plant like that, but it can basically take over a sort of, I don't know, 5 metre square plot if your allotment, if you like. So but they do tend to sort of grow all over the place. Don't be tempted to cut them back in any way, shape or form. If it's growing into a place where you don't want it, when it's still quite young, you need to put some sticks in the ground and train it to go back on itself, to stay away from the area where where you don't want it to go. Don't be tempted to pull it too tight, because the shoots or the runners are very easily broken, and as soon as you've broken them, obviously you're not going to get any pumpkins growing on them. So the pumpkins will typically grow about 2 or 3 metres away from where you plant the plant, and it's just one massive leaf. So what I also suggest, very finely, is when you plant the plant, right next to the plant stick a bamboo cane or a stick, so you know where the root of the plant is. So when you're watering them, you know where to water, because as soon as all the leaves grow, you can't see where the root of the plant is, or it's difficult to see where the root of the plant is, and obviously you want to water where the root is to water the plant. What you don't want to do is water everywhere and be watering the weeds as well. So when you put the plant in, put a stick next to it, high enough, sort of at least 2 foot above the ground, so you can see where the plant is, so you'll know where to water it. And that's all the tricks of the trade for growing any type of gourd. Okay, so I thought I'd go through some of the expenses. Now, I have gone through this previously, about 2 or 3 months ago, but what I've done is I've just gone over just very quickly and just added in anything else. So what I always do at kind of this time of the year, at the end of, sort of beginning of April, end of March, what I do is I go through basically how much money I've spent and how much money I've effectively made by having an allotment. So if you've not seen this before, basically that's what I'm going through. So what I'll do is I'll explain what money I spent on the allotment in total, and then what produce the allotment made or produced, and obviously and how much money that's effectively saved me. So expenditure to start with. So the total expenditure for the allotment, so how much the allotment cost me last year, was £210.33, and basically that was broken down into the allotment fees, which were £55, compost and seeds, £25 in March. Then in April, the Tashwood Nurseries, I spent £24 on cucumber plants, chilli, basil seeds, and some more seed trays. In April, I spent a couple of pounds on the internet buying ivy gourds and woolly bear gourds seeds. Then in April, I spent £19 on spare parts for the rotavator. In April, I also spent £4 in petrol, and that for for doing the rotavating. Then I bought £24 worth of bamboo canes, 8-foot canes, from the Allotment Society in Tamworth. Then in May, I spent a further £19 on compost and some more plastic pots, those the black ones I always use. Then in June, I bought a load of Velcro tape and string from the pound shop, which was £5. I bought £12 worth of water trays from B&Q, and the greenhouse, the new greenhouse there, cost me £21 in December for all of the bits and bobs that I put on it. So that's all the expenditures. So that's £210 of money that I spent on the allotment last year. Right, what the allotment produced. So we produced £52 worth of kale. So there was 26 kilos of kale. The way I work out this is, if I bought it at the shop and I compare Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, and I take the average of those costs, and then what I do is I find out how much it costs per kilo. I pretty much measure everything that we have off the allotment, and so I know what weight in total we got. So basically there was 26 kilos of kale produced, which is £52. 12.5 kilos of broccoli, which was £25. Flower sprouts, 1 kilo, basically £2. Swedes were a complete loss. The beetroot, I had 9 beetroot, so that's £3.60. Onions, I had 98 onions, which is £24.50 worth if I bought them in the shop. Potatoes, I had 160 kilos of potatoes, which would be £124.80 if I bought them in the shop. Right, the next one is asparagus. We had 1.2 kilos of asparagus, which would be £23.88. Runner beans, these are the big hit ones now. Runner beans, we had 41 kilos of runner beans. Actually, that's wrong. It was more than that. It was over 50 because I froze more than 50. But anyway, that came to £205. Climbing beans, or the French beans, was 47 kilos of those. So that's £250 if I bought them in the shop. Parsnips, we had 64 of those, which would cost £25.60 in the shop. Pumpkins, we had 7 pumpkins, and I've costed them at £15 each. The reason being is, if you look at the ones that you buy in the shop, the little farty things, I did have a look on the internet, and there were some people buying, or selling, sorry, large pumpkins, you know, sort of reasonably large pumpkins, and they were selling them at £15 each. So that's how I've priced mine up on that one. So that was £105 worth. Courgettes, we had 19 kilos worth, so that's £11.40. Spinach, we had 32 kilos, which is £128. Cucumbers, we had 17, so I've charged £1 for each of those, or costed for £1 of those. Right, tomatoes is a big one. 51 kilos of tomatoes were produced in this greenhouse alone last year. That's £204 if I bought those in the shop. Chilies, there was £3.78 worth of chilies, and to be honest, I think there's a lot more than that, but I just didn't count them as we were using them. Herbs, I've put down a nominal £20 for the herbs because we're constantly using. If you consider all of the basil that was there last year, and all of the mint and everything, and the balm and stuff, and obviously the rosemary and stuff that we buy. If you buy them in the shops, a small sprig of herbs are about sort of £2 to buy, so that's how I've basically cost that, so that's 20 quid. Rhubarb, there was 18 kilos of rhubarb harvested last year, or at least I had. There was more than that, but that's how much I had. You know, I gave a lot away to other people, so that's £90 worth. And onto the fruit, strawberries, we had 4 kilos. It was a bad year for strawberries last year, that's only 40 quid. Raspberries, there was there was 4 kilos of raspberries at £12 a kilo, so that's £48 in total. Jostaberries, we had 3 kilos, which is £12. Grapes, we had 2 kilos, which I've charged £8, and pears, we had 3 kilos, which I've put down for £77.35. So in total, we produced £1,444 worth, or £1,445 worth of produce off the allotment. Last year in the last 7 years since I've been doing this, last year was the lowest producing year for the last 7 years. You know, in total, since I've kept this record, last year's been the lowest. We're typically close to £2,000 worth of produce, and last year we basically made about £1,500 worth of produce. So in profit, the allotment basically is £1,234 in profit from last year. So and that's pretty much everything accounted for. As I say, I've not included the last beans, so I think the beans were probably more, and also there was something else that didn't look right. The chilies. So the chilies and the beans probably good, but that would only be, I don't know, maybe £80–90 more. But that gives you a good idea. So from a financial point of view, you know, we basically spent £210 on the allotment last year with, you know, with all the seeds and bits and bobs, and then the total produce was 1,444, giving us a total profit of £1,234. So the allotment hasn't cost me anything. If anything, it's saved me £1,234.
So, I hope this episode was of some use to you. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions you got below, and I'll always get back to you. And I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Love and Garden.